So guys, it's the next day here, and so what I'm going to start doing here before I start adding the hardware is I'm just going to start pre-drilling all of the holes that got covered by the clear. Now this is a thick layer of clear, it's like 5 or 6 layers, so it gets pretty thick. And so some of that clear will seep into the hole, and so I have to re-expose them so that I can reattach the hardware. And I mean, you could do it without drilling the hole, but you run the risk of the screw cracking the clear, and you're going to get an ugly look overall. So you want it to be as clean as possible with an installation. So I'm going to go ahead, I've exposed that one, I exposed that one, but it probably needs to be drilled a little bit bigger, and that one's still covered, and you're going to have to go check around. Also, from Kerry Hardy's video, it's important to check that all of these holes here, specifically for the GI lights and all that type of stuff, that they have enough clearance, because that thickness of the clear will sometimes prevent a bulb or a certain item from fitting in properly. So you might have to go with a Dremel and kind of clean it out a little bit to kind of make it sure that everything fits properly. Another thing to check for as well would be like screw lengths and sizes. You do not want to put a wrong screw in the wrong place and go through the playfield from the bottom side going up. So that's something to look for when installing the underside of the playfield. But as far as the top side is concerned, you don't want to damage or crack the clear. So pre-drill everywhere you need to do. That way you do not have that risk, or you mitigate the risk, because there's still a risk, but you mitigate it greatly by pre-drilling the holes. And you do not want to make the size larger than it should be, because these screws are at a defined width. And if you go too big, then that screw will not have any wood to attach to, and then you're gonna be in a world of pain after that. So you do not want to risk doing that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do that. I figured I'd just cover what I'm gonna do first before I put the hardware. That way, anybody else has that type of a question, I mean, it's just pretty straightforward. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll go to the actual hardware installation and the wire forms and stuff like that. All right, guys. So a preliminary, put the first 2 wire forms on there. I had to drill the hole a little bit bigger, and I had to kind of bend the tips here to kind of be perfect. Now I've just put them in with my hands there. Now I went with a Dremel here and polished them up a little nicer so they're not so dirty and stuff, so they cleaned up really nice. So I'm gonna go here with the mallet and try to smash them in now, slowly. We just got to do it slowly and surely. That's the only way you can do it. So you just slowly bang them in, and then you gotta keep doing it over and over until it goes in all the way. Now, am I looking here? Are they going in or not? We'll find out right now. Yeah, they're going in. I'm kind of doing like these really hard hits, but at the same time, they're not as hard. They're kind of halfway between really hard hit and light. So they're going in now, as you can see. I've just got to make sure that they go about the right depth. This is where the ball is behind. This is the flipper here, and the ball goes right through here. So I've just got to keep going and make sure I do it right. Like I said, I do not want to chip the clear. Alright guys, I'm back. So I started putting the wire forms here and there. You can see there I've reinserted the wire forms. It's been a very tedious process, drilling and then hammering it in. I've had to kind of be very gentle, but at the same time I can't be gentle. I still have a few wire forms left to install, but I don't remember the exact positions of them, so I'm going to start taking this one apart. And so that's why I kind of like the way I did the setup personally. Because there's guys that would do videos and take a lot of pictures, and I was going to do that, but once I got the spare playfields, I said, you know what, this will make the transition from one playfield to the next much easier, because I have one fully assembled here that I can go through, and then that I can go ahead and immediately attach to the new one, so it's not like I'm taking all this apart, getting it sent to get clear coated, and then putting it back together, and I'll forget months later how to do it all. Here it's fresh in my mind. I just took this off of this one, I get to put it right back on here. So it will make the process so much easier that way. The only thing is, right now I've been dismantling everything on mine, taking everything I needed to do. I'm gonna remove all the wiring back here off of this one, so when I have to pull it out, I just yank it out because all the wiring's coming with it. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna slowly start taking several of these things out, put it in baggies, and immediately set it on the side. Because unfortunately, the last thing I'm gonna populate again is gonna be the top playfield. Now this melted like 3 or 4 times, so I'm very familiar with this one. But what I do want to do is I want to take off the biggest pieces off of this first. That way I can reach down to the bottom and see where those other wire forms that I need to install on that one go, so I can remember 100% how to do it. But as you can see here, this is it's a lot. It's very involved, but what I'm going to do while I'm at it here is I'm going to clean a lot of these parts. I'm going to polish a lot of the metal while I'm at it. What's going on, guys? A quick update. So I've managed to take a lot of stuff off already, as you can see. It's been a very slow process, unfortunately. I want to go fast, but I just can't. I have to go at a pretty slow pace because I have to clean the parts that I'm taking off, and then as well I have to drill out the holes and then fit it properly, nice and carefully. And so as you can see, I took the metal protectors off the other one slowly and carefully, and I fit it on here, so it's gonna look nice and shiny and clean. And I'm slowly starting to get the hang of how to deal with this clear here really well. So all the parts are going in nice and neat, and I'm going with clear everywhere here, so I'm slowly starting to piece it together here, but it's coming along really good. I'm gonna pretty much just piece the top part here, but only the main hardware. I won't really piece all the plastics and stuff till later, once I've actually done the entire bottom half. Once I do the entire bottom half, then I'll have to put it back on there and then do the entire swap up here. The hardest part's gonna be the back end. The entire underside of the playfield is so much wiring. I have to guide it properly, and probably get my son to help me to do that properly. And then I've got all the hardware here for the trough, and so I have had to do a little bit of adjusting. There's certain things that aren't going to fit 100% like you used to expect. I had to, like here, this holds up the rail from sagging, but because there's an extra layer of clear, like you can see there, that layer of clear, and you have to do a little bit of adjusting to kind of make it fit properly, because it's not the same anymore. Same thing with a few holes here and there that I've noticed aren't consistent with that playfield, and so I'm having to see there's a hole there that wasn't used, and so and then there's certain things you have to put on before you can put the rest on. Like I have to put this bracket on because I had spare parts, so I put the bracket on, or because if I decide to put this rail here, I can't do it anymore, and so I have to put these T-nuts, I think is what they call these, first before I can do anything else. And I'm really glad to put the metal protectors because I don't want to damage the clear going forward. So this will be really good for all the holes, and making sure that I don't damage this playfield and have it last a long time. It's still going to be, well, I started at 8 o'clock this morning. It's already 11, so in the span of 2-3 hours, I've been able to do this. But like I said, it's cleaning, adjusting, and doing everything perfect. It's going to be like I speculate by the end of this, I'll probably be between 50 hours, probably 40 and 50 hours on this entire project of swapping. And that's just because I'm doing it slow. I want to do it perfect. What's going on, guys? It's been a long process here, but this thing's getting pretty dismantled. All of the plastic parts are there, all those wires are there, and then I'm slowly assembling the top playfield, at least the basics, not all the plastics and all that, but cleaning out everything, shining it up, make sure that it's going to be as clean as possible, all the metal looking shiny and polished. You want those mirror finishes, as you can see there. Look at that mirror finish. See that mirror finish? So we want that mirror finish on a lot of parts that didn't have it. So we're getting there. We're getting there. It's a lot of work, but we're getting there slowly. The hardest part is going to be the underside. Right now I'm just kind of doing the easier stuff. And I'll have to flip this over and then pretty much like take things off and put them on the other playfield. It's going to be really difficult to do. I'm going to record it all, I think, because I need to know where every screw goes. There's a lot of screws for the wire loom, where it gets held in place, and then, you know, all the GI lights have to go in a certain sequence. Quick update. So as you guys can see, done quite a lot here. Done a lot of pre-assembly here for now. Added a lot of parts here in the back of this thing. It still looks kind of bare, but what I ended up doing is anything that plugs in, I took off the playfield and put over there. Put the subway systems and all that. Everything else that comes out now is going to be pretty much coils, relays, stuff like that. That's soldered to the wiring. So that's going to be the next step. So this is going to be the hardest part, I think, because I have to keep track of so much and it doesn't come apart. So I'm just going to try to keep all the wiring together and I'll transpose it on over to this. So let's see how that goes. Grooved every single screw, attached every single, you know, mechanical thing that needs to get attached to, minus the solenoids because they're still soldered to the wiring. And so every single bolt, every single screw has already been removed at this point. So it's pretty much just hanging because it's sitting on top of here. It's all loose. So I'm literally just gonna pick it up and drop it on down to this side and slowly connect it. Now, I did put a lot of numbering on this thing, so I numbered a lot of specific spots. So when I transition it over to here, I can see, oh, number 5 over number 5 over here. So I went with this method, basically because this is the easiest method for me to do because I have both playfields right next to each other and I'm doing the conversion. This would be much more different if you just have one playfield that you're taking apart, you get restored, and then you have to put it back together. I would still do this numbering method as well, but I would take much more pictures. I haven't really had to take any pictures because as I take things off, I just swap it on over. Take it off, swap it on over. This is the only thing that is all one piece that I can't take off because it's already all soldered and I don't want to desolder it. The only thing that I desoldered were the 2 lights that go on the pop bumper. And that's just because it's designed a certain way that it has to come out to the top of the playfield. See there, so it's the only thing that I had to desolder. Everything else is still soldered in. Everything that is a plug has been put over here, so it just connects right in. And I even numbered those or did little marks on them to kind of differentiate them and make sure I didn't put things that I wasn't supposed to put there. All right, I just picked it up and dropped it on over, and it's not wired or anything, but it's just sitting over there. These are the long wires that go to the actual cabinet, and so they're kind of just sitting over there holding it all in place. But I've done this as best I could without having to do as much things as possible. So all the solenoids are still into the wiring loom. I've numbered everything as much as possible. And now this playfield is ready to be stored away, or maybe I can sell it down the road. It's actually in really, really good shape. I've seen a lot of these and they're really, really rough. This one is still in pretty good shape. It's just dirty, you know, from being used. See my hands, it's just soot. And that's just from carbon buildup from the solenoids firing and stuff. It kind of tends to go everywhere. But now with everything being removed, I can clean it up really nice and expose just how nice it is too. It's not clear coated and you can see a lot of the imperfections. And this one has been clear coated, so a lot of the imperfections are pretty much fixed and gone. And so it's like a new playfield, but this is gonna be really cool. So we're gonna transition over to me connecting every single little thing everywhere. I'm not gonna show it. I'm just gonna show you once I'm done with it, and so you can see once I'm done with the entire underside, which is I'm almost there. Then I can pick up the entire playfield and drop it back into the game. So I'm finally done with the entire bottom section, including the car crunch. It's all in its rightful place. Everything's gone. Now I did purchase a brand new ramp-o-matic because the original broke even though it was in great shape, but it was cracked, and I left the other one in there. So there's a company out there called Ramp-o-matic that will make them. Now I wasn't 100% happy with it, but it's in real clear shape. The only problem with it is, I can show you here, is some of the finish. You can see a little bit of the bubbling on the finish on the black. It went with the paint, and so their finishes aren't perfect, but I mean at least the acrylic is crystal clear. It was only like 40 bucks for a new acrylic there. Now I did have to remove some of the washers off of that one to make this fit flush, because the original, like, it's like this foam washers. When I was tightening, it was going too low, and so it's going to make a big ridge here and a difference, and I want this to be as flush as possible with the playfield so the ball doesn't damage the playfield. So I had to add more of those foam washers to make sure that I could tighten it down at the right height. But that looks like shiny new. So now that I've done with the entire bottom end here, now I'll proceed to the top end again and go back to reassembling the top end. So we're getting there, guys. I've almost completely bolted everything down on the back of the playfield. A few minor things here and there. Like I cleaned the bumper ring here, polished it up. I mean, it was already in good shape, but I polished it up anyways to make it look in really, really pristine condition there. Give you a mirror finish. Gotta clean all the little plastics and all that, so I can put the pop bumper back on and make sure that it's fully working. I've reattached mostly everything. This is why it's important you mark these. When I was trying to hook up the motor for the Chun-Li here, I couldn't remember where it was, and there was like tons of connectors all around here, and this could have connected to any of those because it's the same connector type, 2 wires. But luckily I put the mark there. Another way to notice where they connect sometimes is also check the wires. They're coated wires, so they should match both sides, so that's another way to check. But I just went ahead and marked everything, so everything's marked. I marked it over there, so when I transposed it over here, I knew where to put it. But this thing is gonna be spotless. I mean, I've cleaned almost every single part that I could, making sure that I'm gonna not worry too much about things sticking and stuff like that. So let's see how this goes. Reached the point of putting it back on the cabinet. I got to work from home today, so probably as soon as I'm done with work today, we'll get to finally finish it up. I woke up extra early and finished most of the top end here. Got a few things I got to work out here and there, but for the most part, this thing is gonna look amazing. I've already cleaned up as much as possible. I've polished the metal here. Not the best way I can polish, but you can see there's a mirror finish on it now, and it wasn't there before. So I polished the ramps as best I can. They're weird shapes, so you can't really run them through the machine as well. Here's the Ramp-o-matic new one, fits flush now, so we'll be good there. And it's shiny and see-through now. So the whole thing is just looking gorgeous. Look at that. One of the nice Street Fighter 2 playfields out there now. I've cleaned a lot of this here too, so now all the parts here are shiny, but look at that thing. It's gonna look amazing. So let's see what happens here in the next couple of hours. Everything has been put in its place how it should be. Everything's been wired up. I've double, triple checked. Put everything back up top. I just left the glass off. And I have to do the smoke test. So moment of truth. Hopefully it turns on and doesn't blow up on me. And it's on. I don't smell anything. Nothing's burning. Everything is working as it should. And we've got it up and running. The only thing I gotta fix is that bulb. That bulb looks to be burnt out, so I gotta swap out that bulb. That's a quick fix. I can do that here shortly. But, oh my gosh. That looks so good. So I've gone with the whites, so when Honda lights up, that lights up. When Balrog lights up, that lights up. I need to get one more so I can hook up another one for Bison. But I like the white that lights up. That looks really, really good. Now I've kept these red just because of the whole fireball area, so I think it fits very well with the theme of everything. So only this is red, everything else is white. But that playfield is just shiny, and then the mod that I did with the car. And just look at that. Now I do need to re-glue in the Ryu. The Ryu came off and it was just hot glued, so I might use an adhesive instead to kind of stick it. But this is the cleanest the machine will ever be, I think, again. Once I start playing it, it's gonna be dirty again. But I like the mirror finish. It literally glows. It's just amazing. All right, I did the smoke test. Now I've gone ahead and closed it up. I've gone ahead and fixed the light bulb that was out, and every bulb now is good to go. I've put back the glass and lock bar, but it all looks really, really good now. This turned out amazing. So now I've got a clear coated playfield. I've got all the hardware internally. I've gone through it now and cleaned anything out. So hardware wise, it's just really, really nice now. But I've got a really good machine now that I'm happy with. I feel like it's one of the mintiest machines of Street Fighter that's probably out there. There's probably others that are like out there, but if there are any out there with a cleared playfield, it's going to be very rare, I would think. So I've got one of the few examples that probably exists